So, as you listen to me, you can just take a few moments to close your eyes. And with your eyes closed, you can begin to focus on the sound of my voice. And as you focus on the sound of my voice, so you can begin to feel comfortable. You can begin to feel calm. And as you begin to feel comfortable and feel calm, so you can drift deeper and deeper inside. And while you drift deeper and deeper inside, I don't know whether you'll notice your arms or your shoulders relaxing more first, and how relaxation will pass down through your body, down from the top of your head all the way down to your feet. And I don't know how that relaxation will pass through your body. And while that relaxation is comfortably passing through your body, so you can listen to me. That's it. And as you listen to me and relax, you can find a peace of mind, a sense of calm and quiet in your mind, a certain stillness in your mind. And you can begin to access a state of mind where you're receptive to the ideas that I present. And as you increase in receptivity to the ideas that I present, so you can begin to create changes deep within your mind. And those changes that happen deep within your mind can be whole being changes, almost like waking up, being yourself but in some way different, waking up being like you on a good day, and having that as your default normal setting. And so, as you listen to me and drift in your mind, I'll begin to just suggest some ideas to you. And you only need to take on board those ideas which are right for you. And on an unconscious level, you can make any changes you need to the ideas I present to make them fit just right for you. So to start with, I'd like to have you have a sense of sitting and relaxing deeply in a chair. Sitting and relaxing deeply in a chair with your shoulders slumped, your breathing calm and relaxed. Your arms calm and relaxed. Your hands resting there heavily. The legs resting heavily on the floor. And while you're sitting there calm and relaxed, just begin to notice your breathing. Notice what it feels like to be breathing calm and relaxed. And now the important thing is, as you follow this honestly and fully and completely. So whilst you're sat there calm and relaxed, just have a sense of a screen in front of you. And while you sit there calm and relaxed, on that screen will be sentences that I'm going to call worry sentences. Sentences that perhaps in the past you thought of as worrying. And so while you focus on sitting there calm and relaxed, just take a moment to have those worry sentences one at a time appear on that screen, just written up on that screen. And just watch those sentences one at a time get written on the screen, so you'll see a first sentence written up on that screen. And then you'll see that sentence get rubbed out and erased. And then you'll see another sentence up on that screen. And you know, these sentences don't have to be a sentence. You can let them go and watch them be erased. And then you can have another sentence up on that screen. And watch that be erased. While you focus on just being calm and relaxed, then you're just watching these up on the screen, and then another sentence written up on that screen, and then erased, and then another sentence up on the screen, and erased. And you can take some time to go through sentences until you run out of sentences coming to your mind that can be written up on that screen. And at that point you can randomly show other sentences, those sentences you've just been through, just randomly show them in a different order up on the screen, while you sit there calmly and relaxed watching those sentences up on that screen. You know, just because a worry sentence is there doesn't mean that you have to feel anything for it. It's just a sentence. You don't have to make it a sentence to you. It can just be a sentence there. That's it. And then you can put another sentence up and another sentence up. Putting them up in different orders. And then you can have a sense of putting the sentences up on that screen backwards, like mirror writing. You can see the sentences on that screen backwards, and having one sentence on the screen and trying to read it and then erasing it, then having another sentence on the screen, trying to read it and then erasing it, having another sentence on the screen, trying to read it and erasing it. And you can keep doing that over and over again whilst you sit there calmly, just watching that screen. And you can think the sentences in different ways. So you can think them in a really stupid voice. Or you can think them going in slow motion. So you can think the sentences and let them go. Perhaps even thinking the sentences, singing the sentences in your mind. And seeing how singing in a jolly song voice makes those sentences seem different. That's it, just doing many different ways of playing those sentences in your mind. And just being aware how you can think those sentences while still remaining calm and relaxed. That those sentences are just there, and you're calm and relaxed. And you can think about if there's anything you need to do off the back of those sentences. Because there are two types of sentences. There are those which are letting you know you need to do something, and those which are about something you have no control over. And those which are about something you have no control over are the ones you just let go. And you don't give any real thought to, because there's no need, there's nothing you can do about them. There's no need to give control or give power to them, because there's nothing you can do. You know, the important thing to be aware is the only thing you have control over is what you do, what you say, what you think, how you feel. Nothing else controls you. Nothing external to you controls you. Things don't make people angry. People's reaction to things makes them angry. People make themselves angry. Things don't make people scared or anxious. People's reactions to things make them scared and anxious. For every person who is anxious in a situation, there'll be dozens of people who instinctively don't think in that way and feel totally calm and totally fine in that situation. For every situation that makes someone angry, there'll be dozens and dozens of people in the same situation who aren't bothered by it at all, because they decide unconsciously to just be thinking differently. In the same way that you can decide unconsciously to think differently. Your unconscious can just naturally and instinctively think differently in situations where you can feel calm and relaxed. And from time to time, thoughts will be there that could be classed as worry thoughts, but that doesn't mean that you have to attach to them, doesn't mean you have to give them power over you, because they're made up, they're imaginary, they're just thoughts, they're not real life. It's healthy to be in a dangerous situation and react with fight or flight to optimize your chances of getting safe. But outside of that kind of situation, there's no real need for the fight or flight response. There's no real need to be responding to thoughts with anxiety, because thoughts aren't real life. They're not a real threat. All thoughts about the future are just hypothetical, made-up ideas. And all thoughts about the past can't change the past that has already happened. The only thing with any certainty is the exact moment here and now, and what you choose to think and do here and now. And you can think and do things that lead towards increasing the chances of certain futures, and increase the chances towards certain futures that you desire. But it isn't productive to be doing so towards futures you don't desire. And people develop certain thinking styles through a lifetime of practice. They learn and develop certain thinking styles from watching and copying their parents and others around them. And sometimes these aren't helpful lessons that you've learned. Like someone learning the piano and developing a bad habit from their teacher about how to play the piano. And the whole time they're learning, they don't realize they're learning a bad habit around how to play the piano. They don't realize they're learning an inefficient way, perhaps, of using their fingers. And then once they realize that they've learned a bad habit, learned an inefficient way of doing something, so they can then learn and practice how to do that differently. So perhaps from their teacher they learned to play very, very well, using just 2 fingers, without realizing that you can use your whole hands in specific ways. And so they thought that the reason that their learning had plateaued was because maybe they just weren't good enough to progress further, when in reality it was because they were trying to play everything with just 2 fingers. A finger on the left hand and a finger on the right hand. And inevitably there was a certain speed limit. Their fingers just couldn't keep up with the number of notes that both hands had to play, and couldn't seem to master playing 2 notes at the same time with a single hand, because they're only using 1 finger on each hand. And so through hard work and dedication, and feeling uncomfortable perhaps to start with, they can learn to use all 10 fingers. Learn to be able to play multiple notes with a single hand at the same time. And to start with, it feels odd and uncomfortable and different, and takes a lot of conscious effort to keep reminding themselves to do things in this new way. And yet one day, almost miraculously, it just seems to work out, and their fingers just play what they're supposed to play, without any conscious thought. And their ability leaps up in strides. It doesn't just make a small progression as it had been, it makes a huge leap in progression to this new way of doing things. where they can now play rich pieces of music with depth. That's it. And you know the past is the past. It has already been and gone. It is unchangeable. Everything, good and bad, that's ever happened in the past has already happened. Nothing at all can change that. And the future hasn't happened yet. And because the future hasn't happened, it means that the future will be what it is. Nothing that you worry about or think about that future has any influence on the future. In the same way that nothing you worry about or think about the past has any influence on the past. You can do things which increases the likelihood of certain futures, but there are some things that are out of your control. And whether you worry about them or not, they will either happen or they won't. And your decision to worry won't have had any impact on the outcome at all. All any worrying does is wastes away your life in the here and now. All any worrying does is wastes away your life in the here and now. It doesn't change the past, it doesn't change the future. So every single moment you have a decision to make. Do you use that moment, live that moment, enjoy that moment, make the most of that moment? Or do you spend that moment thinking things that make you feel bad, that will have no impact on the past or the future, but will stop you enjoying the life you've got? And there's nothing wrong with the occasional worry thought coming to mind. It is very natural to have a certain level of cautiousness around some things. It is natural, for example, if you are going to go skydiving, to have a certain level of cautiousness and worry so that it encourages you to check for your safety. So you worry, is the parachute correctly packed in the bag? And then you check to see if the parachute is correctly packed in the bag. And then you know the parachute is correctly packed in the bag. And so you no longer need to worry about it. So the times, those rare times that you do worry, what you're doing is the first part of a process you're going to do, of a problem-solving process. You're identifying risk, and then you follow that up with looking at a solution, and then you let it go once you know you've addressed the solution. Worrying about what people think doesn't change what people think. Worrying about world events doesn't change the world events. Worrying about the loss of loved ones doesn't bring back the lost loved ones. All any of this worrying does takes up time in the here and now, where you could be deciding to focus on, what am I going to do today? How am I going to enjoy today? What would I like to spend doing with my time today? What would I like to spend doing with my time? Because that's the important question. What do you want to spend doing with your time? What do you want to spend thinking about? What thoughts bring you pleasure and excitement and a smile to your face? Because every moment they're what you want to be thinking about. Like waking up thinking, I can't wait to do this today. I'm looking forward to doing that today. I'm not so much looking forward to these things, but I know I've got to do them, so how can I make them more fun? Or while I'm doing these boring things, what can I think about? I can think about a certain holiday, a certain place I'd like to go, a certain project I'd like to work on. There are many things that can bring us pleasure in our minds while we're doing boring tasks. And when you're doing things that you don't really enjoy, or things that aren't the most comfortable thing for you to do, because you're not very experienced at them, so you're not quite so confident, because confidence comes from competence. So when you do something that you're not experienced at, it is natural to feel a little anxious, because you shouldn't be confident at that, because you're not competent at it. Perhaps you need a little more experience. But the anxiety should just be a natural anxiety, just enough to let you know, to keep you on edge a little bit, to help you to focus on knowing you've got to put effort into doing this well. You can't just be blasé about it. You can't just let your mind drift off somewhere else while you're doing it. Whereas once you're skilled at something, your mind can drift off elsewhere. You can be calm and relaxed while you're doing it, because you don't have to put any effort at all into it. You don't have to think about it at all. It just happens automatically. And you can learn and take on board everything I'm saying and integrate them into yourself and into who you are. Like waking up and viewing the world differently through different senses. Like your senses have been rebooted. And you'll drift back to the room and open your eyes when you've made all the necessary unconscious changes, and you can listen to this as often as you like to help you continue changing on a deep and unconscious level.